You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. This is your host, Jennings Smith. Glad to be with you today. Guys, I want to talk to you about buying and selling businesses, flipping businesses, and how can you make your first $1 million, right? The easiest way to make $1 million is not to earn $1 million. It's very, very, very difficult to trade time for money and make $1 million, even if you're a highly paid executive. You know, the cost of living, taxes, all these things eat into it. And when we see the people that make $1 million or $10 million or $100 million, and the higher you go, the more unrealistic it gets that you're going to be able to earn that. Where do we see them making this kind of wealth, creating this kind of wealth? Data shows from the Business Learning Center shows that 20% of new businesses fail in the first 2 years. So if you start a business, within 2 years, 20% of them is going to go down, 1 out of 5. So not too bad. But that jumps up to 45% failure rate within 5 years. So 5 years, almost half of these businesses are failing. 65% fail in 10 years, and 75% fail within 15 years. Only 25% of businesses make it to 15 years or more. And I live in a medium-sized town. I live in town Somerville, South Carolina. There's, 100,000+ people here. And we've got a little downtown. And when I was a kid, there was massive turnover in these little shops. You know, a shop would move in and it seemed like a year later they're closing, they're going out of business. And even now, right, as the population's grown, we're in a good economy, there's people buying, there's people moving here, I still see turnover. And I think about Tuesday morning, if you've heard of Tuesday Morning Retailer, there's a Tuesday Morning right down the street from me in the Harris Teeter Shopping Center. That's a supermarket. They're going bankrupt, or they've gone bankrupt, and they're closing their stores. They're getting bought out by, I think, the same guys that bought Bed Bath & Beyond and all those other retailers. And so Tuesday Morning, I think they've been around for 50 years, and they're going under, going down. So those are not very good odds. So why do people do it? Well, going back to the guys that succeed, the companies that make it, the companies that do well, they can make a lot of money depending on the model they're in, the business. But the reason so many businesses fail, and I researched this, you can tie it into 6 or 7 reasons. Number one is a bad plan, right? They don't have a good execution plan. Their timeline is off. They've made bad estimations. They got all these rosy charts as to what's going to happen, but they have a bad plan. A lot of times, this plan may be in an uncharted territory. If it's a startup, if this is a product that's never been done before. You look at the unicorns, Airbnb, Uber, where they created something that was never there and made a $1 billion company, Amazon. But for every unicorn, you don't hear about the thousands and hundreds of thousands of companies that did not end up being Amazon. And there's this positive bias where the ones that make it, we know about them. They're held up as the success stories. And even good people who are diligent, hard workers, well-capitalized, still can fail at business, right? Second reason would be the market doesn't want it. I think that I see a little shop open up and, they're selling beads. They're selling beads to make bracelets or earrings or whatever. And I'm not a woman, obviously, don't really care about that to begin with. But even so, what are these beads? 15 cents a piece, 25 cents a piece. You're making a bracelet. The bracelet's like $3. And even at a 50% margin, they're making $1.50. And their rent is $20 a square foot per year net, triple net. They're paying $4,000 a month in rent. You got to sell a lot of beads to make that work. And the market may just not want the product. Poorly capitalized. There are businesses, including some of the businesses I'm in, that they are a good plan. The market does want it, but they don't have enough runway. They need cash and they've run out of cash, right? Maybe they didn't have enough for the build out. They didn't have enough cash on hand for marketing. They needed to break through economies of scale. They needed to buy their product in bulk so that they could get better deals, and they just don't have the credit lines or the capital to make that happen. They don't have cash flow. A startup business, a new business, does not have in-place cash flow. They don't have an in-place customer base, and they're starting from scratch. So there's nothing to carry them on, and everything that they're doing, their employees, their rent, their products, their overhead, everything is 100% cash burn out the gate. They also can have unknown expenses and income. Maybe they were able to get the income up. Maybe they were able to get the cash flow. Maybe they're properly capitalized, but they didn't know how to properly project what their expenses were going to be. And these expenses caught up with them, and then all of a sudden they have an unprofitable model that no matter how big it gets, it just loses more money. At that point, they got to shut the doors. And there's other reasons besides this, but the last main tenet would be wrong management, wrong expertise. They open up a shop, they put a teenager in there running it, and they don't have the customer service, they don't have the management, they don't have the expertise. They don't know this business inside and out, or maybe they're just not gifted in the abilities for running that business. So going back, why do people do this? I mean, we're talking about walking into a deal with a 75% chance of failure. If you or I was in Las Vegas last week. I was in Las Vegas for a conference, a real estate conference. And I walked up to a roulette table, and I kind of don't gamble much, but I usually gamble $100, $200 when I'm out there. And roulette is half black numbers, half red numbers, and then there's two green numbers, 0 and 00. And so you can bet on black or you can bet on red, and if you win, you double your money. But sometimes it hits the 0 or the 00, which is the green, right? And that gives the house the edge. I don't know what exactly the edge is, but it's 2 or 3%, maybe 4%. And so the house has a 54% chance of winning, and the empires of Las Vegas are built on odds like this, a fairly slight house edge. And this roulette table actually had a 000. So it had 3 green spaces. So the odds were considerably worse. But imagine walking up to a roulette wheel that had 25 numbers on which you could win and 75 numbers on which you could lose. Would you throw down $100? Would you throw down $1,000, $10,000, $100,000? I mean, some of these businesses cost real money to start, right? And you know that you're going to lose 3/4 of the time. I don't know about you, but I'm not walking up to that roulette table. So how can you change the odds? Because we know that if we can buy something for $4 million and sell it for $5 million, that's the best way to make $1 million. That's the best way to create $1 million. Think about these companies that acquire other assets, right? You've got Facebook. They've acquired Instagram for however many billions of dollars. And they did that because if they bought it for $3 billion, they know that they can make it worth $6 billion. And they can make $3 billion versus trying to earn $3 billion in Facebook revenue. That's a much, much longer road. And this is why businesses acquire other businesses. They try to buy Snapchat. They try to buy other entities that fit under their platform. And they get it. They understand that. There are other guys that they'll go out and they'll buy a business and they'll do something to it to, let's say you buy a landscaping business and you can increase the customer base. You can add gutter servicing to it. You can increase the revenue. And if you can double that revenue, then you can double the price of the business. So if you bought that lawn care company for, let's say, $1 million and it's doing $350,000 a year in profit, so you're buying it at a 3x multiple, 3 times the profit. If you can push that, net operating income or profit to $700,000, at worst case scenario, you could sell that for $2.1 million. Now you've made $1.1 million, and you can probably sell it for a higher multiple, maybe a 4 multiple, just because it's a bigger company and there's bigger dollars at play and it's more attractive to a larger pool of buyers, right? And so business growth and sales, they account for the majority of wealth in this nation. Real estate is just another business. I want you to hear me clearly because I think a lot of people think about apartment complexes, self-storage, strip malls, shopping centers, mobile home parks. They think of it as property. They think of it as just buying like their home, right? Most people, their only exposure to real estate could be their own single family home. And they don't think of their home as a business. But when you start thinking about commercial real estate as a business, it starts to shift the dynamic, right? Because we don't want to have a 75% failure rate. We want to have a 5% failure rate or 0% failure rate if we can help it. But no business is without risk. But think about this. When guys go out there and they purchase something, and maybe it's run down, maybe it's poorly managed, maybe it's half empty, and they can increase that net operating income, they can increase the net profits, they can sell that thing. And the thing is real estate doesn't trade at a 3x multiple, right? Going back to the lawn care business, if your net operating income is $333,000 a year, your profit's $333,000, you can maybe sell it for $1 million. Well, in a really, really good market, you can sell an apartment complex at a 5 cap. A 5 cap means it's a 20x multiple. So if your net operating income is $100,000, that property could trade for $2 million. And if you can push that net operating income up to $150,000 by reducing expenses or increasing income, now all of a sudden that property's worth $1,500,000. And so you've increased your profit by $500K without having to earn it because you're utilizing the power of this business. So I buy a lot of real estate, and I buy a lot of real estate that is got a problem, right? I'm buying this from mom and pop sometimes, people that it's poorly managed, and they haven't run the business well. They're not necessarily business geniuses. They're not utilizing effective marketing. They're not getting top of the market rents. They're not maintaining their properties well. And yet they're still able to sell their business for a profit. I look at what they paid for it, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and even poorly managed, it still is worth more than they paid for it. Now, there's an exception. You burn your place down, you don't have insurance, or you let it go 100% vacant. It's going to be really hard to find somebody to buy that. But in the most instances, you don't have to be Jeff Bezos. You don't have to be Elon Musk to make that business worth more than it is. Why? Why is this business so much different, so much better than you going out and starting your own business or even buying an existing business? Well, I'm going to go through some of these same points that we talked about. Number one, bad plan. In real estate, it's a simple plan. It's a simple plan. What are the market rents? What should they be? What's the vacancy? What's the delinquency? And what are the repairs needed? Can we fix this place up? Can we improve marketing? Can we improve occupancy? Can we improve the rental rate? Can we get the bad apples out? Can we evict them, the people that aren't paying, that are dragging the property down? Can we do all that? That's pretty simple. That's a lot simpler than trying to figure out how to build the iPhone or turn on Amazon Prime and invent that and all the crazy stuff that they do. Right? This is a simple plan that most people can understand within about 10 minutes. Secondly, the market wants it. We talked about a need, right? Is there market fit? Does the market want your product? Well, they do, right? Number one, a lot of times rent is less than a mortgage. Right now, rent is less than a mortgage, typically, with the way that the mortgage rates have gone, right? You can't get a mortgage for less than 7%, I think, at this point. And so the monthly payment for your average home buyer has doubled over the last 15 months. Doubled. Has the price of rent doubled? No. Rents have gone up, sure, but not doubled. And so you've got a demographic that's looking at I cannot afford $2,500 a month to buy this 2-3 bedroom house, but I can afford $1,500, $1,600 a month to rent this apartment. And so I can't do that, so I'm going to do that, right? There's one reason, just simple economics of monthly cost. There's always people that are in transit. Maybe you're moving to a city and you only want to live there for a year or two. It probably doesn't make sense for you to buy a house. There are people that don't want the hassle, right? They don't want the air conditioner going out. They're on a fixed income. They don't want the roof leaking. They don't want to have to replace the roof. They don't want to have to deal with property insurance and taxes and repairs and maintenance and all that goes into owning a home. So they choose to rent. And then there's also a large demographic of people that don't qualify, right? They don't have the down payment. They don't have the credit. They don't have the stable income. The bank is just not willing to take that risk on them to loan them $300,000 to go buy a single family home. And there will always be people that are new to the market, right? They're graduating college and they don't necessarily have the credit or the down payment to do that. There's going to be people that have maybe made poor decisions, and there's a reason why they're not qualified to buy a house, but they can rent. And so that demand is super high. I don't know the national statistics, but the average vacancy across my portfolio, is 4 or 5%, right? So we're 90+% full all the time, right? Including turnover, including move-ins, moves-outs. And so there is absolutely a market that wants it, and it's not something that can be replaced. Imagine if you had 25 of those jackrabbit film developing places, and I'm dating myself. But before, you had to go take your film, get it developed. They invent the digital camera, and 10 years later, no one's going to those places, right? Landlines, thing of the past. Cell phones have replaced that. Artificial intelligence is coming to the market, and we don't know what that's going to replace or what that's going to do, but it's going to disrupt things. Right? There's always new technologies that are coming to market that are threatening old technologies, old businesses that have invested a lot of time, capital, and resources into making that company profitable, and it can be stripped away. Maybe not overnight, but we've seen the way of Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. There's still a few of them left, but by and large, they're gone. Blockbuster is gone. Netflix has killed them. So you look at this, human beings have to have a place to live, right? You got to take a bath. You got to sleep in a bed. You need air conditioning. You need heat. In the South, you definitely need air conditioning. And this is a basic human need that somebody needs a roof over their head. And I don't care what AI does. I don't care what new invention there is. People are still physical beings, and it's not going to be replaced in a digital age. Third point, cash flow in place from day one. This is extremely critical. I'm looking at a deal right now that is 25% vacant and well under market rent. I'm talking 50% under market rent. And some of the tenants are month to month, others have expiring leases, but this is an opportunity that you could, one, lease up the remaining 25%, and two, you could bring those tenants to market. And if they don't want to be at market, then you can bring in new tenants that do want to be at the market rent. And all of a sudden, you've really, really increased your cash flow. But here's the cool thing about that deal. The way that I'm negotiating, structuring it is the cash flow, right? So the cash flow in place today on that property is $10,800 a month, right? Not a massive property, but $10,800 a month. I think that the stabilized cash flow on that property will be $27,000 a month in filling up that vacancy and bringing those other units to market. Right? So there's a huge swing in the value add side there. However, I've looked at the expenses, I've looked at the debt, and I've been able to do it so that if I can negotiate the deal that I want, I can get $3,000 a month in free cash flow at closing. That means I've got a 10-8 coming in the door, and I've got 7-8 going out the door. $7,800 going out the door, 10-8 coming in the door, and I can make that work. Now, am I in a bit of a precarious situation? Sure, right? Because another tenant could leave and then I'm really in trouble, and you think, oh, cool, you just got $3,000 a month. Absolutely not. Because I've got to put the pedal to the metal. I've got to make that property really, really hum. Because this debt that I'm negotiating isn't going to last forever. When I refinance, I'll probably have to have a higher rate and lower leverage. So the point I'm making here, though, is the cash flow in place is going to help me get there. So instead of burning $3,000 or $10,800 a month, I've got $10,800 coming a month as is. Even as downtrodden as this property is, it still is bringing in existing cash flow. And when I take it to $27,000, now I'm really humming. Two reasons why I'm really humming. One, I can go get that thing reappraised, and the bank's going to look at the in-place NOI. Right now, I'm doing $27,000 a month. That's basically $325,000 a year in net profit. Okay, so if I'm doing that, then they're going to appraise the building much higher than the purchase price that I'm looking at today. And then I can refinance out the loan because the term is going to end, and then I can cash flow. And I'll probably cash flow on stabilized debt with about 60% leverage, $8,000 a month. Okay, so now I can take that, clip that coupon, make $8,000 a month, or I can sell that, right? And if I sell that, it's probably worth at an 8 or 9 cap, it's worth at least $5 or $6 million. And so that is a extremely attractive deal to go in there with the value add because the cash flow is in place from day one. I'm not taking on a 100% vacant building, which has zero cash coming in as like burning expenses and taxes, insurance, maintenance, etc. Right? Or a startup company, right? You've got employees, you have costs of goods sold, you have all this, and you have no cash flow. And if you can't make that turn, if you can't get beyond that cash burn, you're going to go under. And you have to have bank rolls of cash to get there. Last thing or third thing is expenses are generally known and they can be reviewed before you buy. Remember, with a startup, with a business, there's a lot of unknown expenses, a lot of unknown income. You've got your projections. Oh, we're going to sell 100,000 widgets a year. We're going to make $1 million. Our expenses are going to be $700,000 and we're going to make a 30% margin. Well, you don't know that, right? You don't know that. With real estate deals, you can look at the T12, right? The T12 being what were the last 12 months of expenses. You can look at the last 3 years of expenses. You can look at the last 3 years of income. You can look at the last 6 months of income. You can fairly accurately project what you're going to collect next month and the month after that. And you can accurately project what are going to be my taxes, what are going to be my insurance, what's going to be my maintenance costs, what's going to be my repair costs, what are going to be my renovations to get this thing done. You can bid and quote all that out ahead of time. Whereas with startup businesses, it's not so easy. And then the management, right? The great thing, this is one of my favorite things about the real estate game, is there are tons of third-party managers that are already in the industry. Now, I'm talking about your property manager. They can collect the rents for you. They can process the evictions. They can handle the rehabs and the turns and all that stuff for you in the residential world. You've got contractors. Contractors are a dime a dozen. There's tons of them out there that are willing to put in new floors, repaint, redo the siding, replace the roof, whatever it is. There's literally thousands of contractors all across the US, and there's thousands of property managers. And in the commercial space, shopping centers, industrial, there are leasing agents. These leasing agents, they're connected with national vendors, Family Dollar, Publix, Papa John's Pizza. They have the network and connections, and they can go to these vendors with your space, negotiate these leases for you, and then you pay them a commission up front, usually about 6% of the full lease. And so it's fairly expensive, right? It's a big commission, but they can help you get that person into place if you're not already set up with national relations or you don't know how do I lease out a strip mall. There are professionals out there, third-party managers that do it. And if you get somebody that you don't like, right, a manager that you're not working well with, they're not managing your property adequately, the contractor's not getting it done on time or on budget, the leasing agent isn't getting it leased up, they're pretty easy to replace. Now, that's not a painless scenario, but it's a lot less painless than firing your existing team, starting over and finding new talent, trying to hunt them down on Indeed.com or something, right? These are ready-made third-party businesses ready to plug in your business and assist you in getting it done. So what if you could buy an existing business that the market already needed, that was already cash flowing, and that was fairly easy to run? I say easy-ish because this is all work, guys. There is no such thing as completely passive income. This takes work, it takes time, it takes talent, it takes taking risk. But what if you could find something like this, a business that fit those boxes? And what if you had end buyers lined up to buy that business based on your new and improved cash flow? Or you had lenders lined up to loan against your business? This is a huge difference. If you go on Biz Buy Sell, there's thousands and thousands of businesses out there, and a lot of them don't ever sell. They never sell. The guy retires, he gets old, his kids don't want it, and he closes his shop because the next guy that has to buy it, he has to run it, and he has to run all those pieces, and he knows the risk and he knows the effort, and that's why they only trade at a 3 or 4 or 5x multiple. They don't trade at a 20x multiple or a 10x multiple. I mean, in the real estate world, guys, a 10 cap, which is basically a 10x multiple of your profit, that is a screaming deal. Nobody sells for cheaper than that unless it's just really, really distressed. And so you have literally thousands of buyers lined up to buy your asset, buy your business when you want to sell, unsolicited. So I've got a portfolio. We have about 12 properties, and Literally every week we are getting letters, emails, cold calls, people trying to buy our properties from us. We have brokers that are approaching us, hey, do you want to take your business to market? And having a multitude of buyers is what's going to give you the best price. And why are there so many buyers? Well, because they know the ins and outs of that business. And they know that this business has a simple plan. They know the market wants it. They know the cash flow is in place. They know the expenses. They know the income. And they know they can use third-party managers. It's going to be fairly easy to manage and run this business. And so they line up to buy commercial real estate. So if you want to buy apartments, if you want to buy self-storage, you want to buy mobile home parks, you want to get in this game, you think, I can do this, I can buy a business. If you've been thinking about buying a business, you should look at commercial real estate. That's all it is. It's just another business to buy and flip, or to buy and cash flow and refinance. And it's a lot of benefits that we've just went through. Now, if you're thinking, well, I can't get that loan. I see a $2.5 million apartment complex. It looks like a great deal, but I can't get a $2 million loan. I can't come up with a $600,000 down payment, right? There's just no way that I'm ever going to get financed. There's no way that I'm ever going to save up $600,000 in my W-2 job, or flipping houses on the side, or whatever you're working on. Stop telling yourself all those reasons that it won't work. Those problems are some of the easiest problems to solve in real estate. Money is not a problem. I'm going to repeat that. Down payment money is not a problem. Lenders are not a problem. Now, you may say, well, I don't have the net worth. I've looked into it. I don't have the credit. You're right, but there's someone that does. There are dozens of them, hundreds of them, thousands of them. I am personally connected with, I would say, 500 people that would partner with me in an instant, right? They would bring the down payment. They would bring the net worth. They would bring the balance sheet if I wanted to take down a bigger deal, right? Now, I've built that network, and that network is part of probably one of the harder things, and takes time, and it takes work, and takes relationships to build. But if you're looking at this thing as a brick wall that you'll never get through, and so you stop trying to solve that problem, then you'll never solve that problem. If you look at this brick wall as, hey, it's a brick wall, but look, there's a couple ladders, right? Maybe I can climb up this ladder. Maybe I can scale it. Maybe I can build a dirt ramp up to it, and then I can get over this wall. Maybe this wall isn't as impassable as I thought it was. Maybe it is a barrier, but it's not this 100-mile high concrete wall that no one can get through. Everyone starts somewhere. And when you start to get curious and you start to ask yourself, how might I do this? What would that look like? Who would I need on my team to make this happen? Where could I get the money? Instead of, I don't have the money, I don't have the team, I don't have the loan, I don't have the ability. Who does? What do you bring to the equation? What can you bring to the equation? Whatever you can bring to the equation is value. You can find deals, you can underwrite deals, you're educated in this space, you start to make yourself more knowledgeable, you're bringing equity value to a deal. You can raise capital. You have, the ability to put yourself out there, put together a pitch deck and sell yourself. You're bringing value to the equation. So yeah, if you come to a problem and you want to offer nothing and you want to take everything, it's not going to work. But if you start to invest in yourself and you start to look at, like, what pieces do I have? What pieces do I need? What can I bring to the equation, and who do I need to fill those holes? That's how you can start to scale that wall. So if you already have some real estate and you want to jump into the big leagues, if you want to start exploring, how can I get into a better asset class? How can I get into a cash flowing asset class? Something that's going to make me money every month, something that I can find a problem, solve the problem, and then sell for $1 million or $2 million or $20 million profit. If you want to learn and talk about that, shoot me a message. Hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Facebook, wherever you're on social media, and let's chat. Let's see where you're at and see if we can help you. And if we are sure that we can help you, then let's go. All right, guys, I appreciate you hanging out today. Hope this was mind-opening on how commercial business or commercial real estate is just a business. It's one of the best businesses that's out there, and it's minted more millionaires than any other industry combined. All right, guys, have a great week and take some time to unlock your life. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.